But we've had our reasonable discussion about this. Let's listen to some ESPN guys.
Oh God.
It might be it's Mike Greenberg. He's not one of the more unreasonable folks from there, right?
Are they talking about the Jets?
No.
Right.
Tweeted at us the following. We're going to go on record here, early October. Maybe we'll do this every month or so.
Love it.
He writes, fill in the blanks with the first pick in the draft, the blank take blank. So it's all go on record. Mel, starting with you. Which team? We're just making predict. We're just looking in the crystal ball.
Yep.
Which team will make the first pick and who will they take?
Carolina Panthers take Travis Hunter.
Ooh.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Okay.
Taking Travis number 1 overall?
I mean, Tepper wants to sell some tickets, so it's going to be one of the Colorado guys.
Yeah, Tepper's such a meddler. It's insane. He is so much like 1980s Jerry Jones to him. It's insane. Except for Jerry actually had football acumen back in the day.
Well, he brought in like a bunch of dudes who
Tepper
played at
does
South
not.
Carolina, right? Like that was the tall tale side. He brought in Clowney, like South Carolina. Hey, if you want a Carolina legend to start for you at quarterback,
we got somebody from Clemson.
We got Clemson legend that can unite the Carolinas. Maybe not the way you think, but yeah, man. Hey, look, we'll give you a draft pick. You know,
Taking Travis Hunter. Not taking a quarterback.
Yep.
2 years removed from the.
Is there a
Do
quarterback?
you think Carolina takes a quarterback in this year's draft? They get the opportunity. They're going to still roll this Bryce Young thing out.
I think they have to.
You got to take a quarterback.
You have to.
You have to take a quarterback.
They spent a lot of money on their offensive line, and I think I like Deontay Johnson. You probably need another wide receiver because Thielen he's okay, but like he's definitely your 3 or 4 coming like at this point in his career. But I think they have good players at premium positions that they could take the quarterback if they wanted to.
So we're all giving up on the Bryce Young. Do you think they have gotten to that? Do you think Dave Tepper has gotten to that point? He's done.
It's over with.
You're not going to see him surprise get back in there.
I want to push back on the wide receiver thing for a second because Xavier Legette is starting to come around already there, and I just again South Carolina legend. But I was
didn't put that together.
Yeah, but I was a huge fan of his game last year. Obviously, like a very big outlier with being a 5th-year guy who broke out at like 23 years old, but legitimate freak athlete and the best wide receiver I think they've drafted in the past couple of years because they've had some big swings and misses at that position.
Better than DJ Moore?
No. I'm not going back that far. DJ Moore.
Okay.
Moore was fun. DJ Moore was fun.
All right. Just had to ask the question because someone's going to say it.
Elias Field right now.
Nope. Because my answer was going to be
if a team right now desperately had, and New England's a team with Drake May, he's going to be starting, right?
Yep.
So they have Drake May.
Ain't it crazy how like after the pandemic, most of ESPN is dudes on Zoom?
Yeah.
They just
like.
I mean, that's better than having to move to Bristol, Connecticut. So,
my God!
Just let me tell you. Look, if I ever got a job at ESPN, I would be a dude on Zoom. Absolutely. I'm just pointing out, like, man, the work from home thing has really taken over sports talk in a way that we did not imagine.
Say it's New England. They don't need one.
But they're like, it's always dudes on Zoom webcams. Like, they don't even like step up and get
crazy
the mirrorless thing, right?
Where is the production value with this?
Yeah.
That legitimately adds.
It's almost like this is a damn ad for all 3 of these guys.
It's StreamYard subscription and buy some webcams, man. Yeah, like
Man, this is straight
like, bro, the ESPN can afford OBS or Ecamm. Like, they're not hustling.
you're using an HP laptop webcam.
This is straight up Mac camera.
Yeah, my Canon EOS is a mirrorless camera. It was like $500. I'm pretty sure ESPN has $500 that they can give to these guys for a real camera.
These guys have never been on YouTube anymore. Get an LED light and make your background blue.
Wow.
Right?
Pat McAfee taking all that money, man. They might not got it no more.
That's true.
Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith got Mike Greenberg out here with the Nexago webcam to attach to his laptop. Like, you telling me that's the case?
Listen, man, it is what it is.
Hey, Mel Kiper looks like an adjunct professor giving a lecture right now.
Yeah, he does.
One of these dudes got wired headphones in. Who's that? Right there on the left side? He got a wired pair of headphones?
Bill Gates.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
I'm in a temporary spot right now, Corey. I'm not in my natural environment.
Yeah, no depth of field, no ocular occlusion going on. Come on, ESPN.
But first of all,
These are the pros.
You talk about this new situation in the NFL. Are you going to say we want the new guy, or do we want to stick with the
centered in his room
quarterback?
I'm about to say, I ain't gonna lie though. The fireplace standalone in the middle is kind of fire.
That's
though.
fire.
Like, it's
That's
kind
fire.
of a flex.
Fire.
Look, and then that house is probably in New York, like, which is its own flex because like having a house in New York. Now, them blinds, them curtains is kind of crazy though.
In fact, who we drafted number 1 overall not that long ago in Bryce Young.
Oh, Bryce Young.
Is Bryce Young going to see the field again? He did this past week, right?
Nope.
What's going to happen at that whole thing as it plays out this year? We don't know. And like I said, even if you desperately needed a quarterback and said, we don't have anybody, we got to get a quarterback and we're picking number 1. Is there a quarterback right now, Field Yates, that you would take number 1?
No, there's not. I am feeling more and more by the week, and I get it that we are kind of our twisting in the wind based off how each of these guys perform. But as I watch it, and as I talk about it with scouts and evaluators, coaches, GMs around the NFL each and every week, more and more the fact that I come around to is when nobody can separate themselves from the field, it probably means none of them are actually as good as you'd like them to be if you're taking them early in the first round. So my answer would be, and I get it, a trade up is still very much possible. Quarterbacks always go earlier than they should. The New England Patriots take Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas. And I know that we've talked plenty about Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, a couple others on this podcast that have deserved the praise. I don't think we've spent enough time, and I get it, offensive tackle talk doesn't really move the needle like some other guys do. I just will say, it's early in the season and things can change. It's going to be really hard to knock me off of my evaluation that there are 2 better, more ready, 3 better or more pro-ready prospects than Kelvin Banks right now. It's just picture perfect. It's everything you want in a left tackle from day one. I am all in on Kelvin Banks to be clearly the best offensive lineman in this class that we thought could be pretty deep coming into the season. It might be deep, but there's one guy who looks like Usain Bolt at the end of the 100-meter dash, who's like way ahead of the rest of the field.
Okay, there's so much there to unpack. Where do you guys want to start?
The field's been doing draft analyst work for like less than a year. That's probably where I'm going to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what about this offensive tackle class is deep.
Yeah, I've not heard that a lot, that the class is deep.
When was this published? When did this air?
This aired 8 days ago.
Oh my! I can tell you, it's deep. It's deep if you just throw all those guys at offensive tackle in the NFL level. But I bet more than half of these guys that are listed as offensive tackles or play offensive tackle in college right now are guards at the next level. And half of those guys are at the top of this class, including Kelvin Banks.
I also wanted
to go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What I don't get is that ESPN hired one of the better draft analysts in the industry and refuses to put him on camera.
Yep.
Like what are we doing with Jordan Reed? Like, why isn't Jordan Reed on camera right now?
Yep.
That's my take on it. Like,
well, I mean, Cole kind of alluded to it, right? You know, Pat McAfee and Stephen A. They don't got a camera budget for him. They can't get him out one of them webcams to get him on TV. I bet they probably do some like super proprietary, like expensive, like I bet they still park the satellite truck outside the house, like to do some of these, like because they're worried about signal drop. Like, dude, I bet ESPN's like really inefficient about how they use their budget about this.
I worked in radio during the pandemic, and we had video for all of that. So we had like the radio systems in their places. They are not very reliable. So the way that they're doing it is, I mean, from a production standpoint, is not very good. But this is a more reliable way to do things overall.
So another thing I want to talk about, do you think that none of these quarterbacks have separated themselves from the pack here? Because like I feel like just by watching them, like, yeah, there's 2 guys here that you're like Shadeur Sanders. Like, I'm not the biggest Shadeur Sanders fan, but like I obviously am willing to recognize that he has separated himself from the pack. And then, like, you just saw Jalen Milroe outrun the entire Georgia defense. Like, that definitely like is not something that any other prospect in this draft can do right now, like at any position.
And for as much as I don't like him, like I'm okay with him, but like not as a first round prospect. But like Cam Ward leads the nation in touchdown passes, passing yards right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, like, what are we talking about? I think there are some that are separating themselves in the wrong direction. So, like,
And as
yeah,
a passer,
man.
Ward has probably the highest ceiling in the entire class too.
Yeah. His arm is
His arm is
freaking
crazy.
elastic. Yeah.
I'm excited to see him because they play Georgia Tech, so I'm actually going to be able to go to that game, and see him in person. But yeah, it's just that was just an interesting few seconds there by Mr. Yates.
Real quick, Q, before you press play again. Corey, you said that some quarterbacks have separated themselves in the wrong direction. Expound on that for me real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two dudes who are going to go head to head this weekend are the two main culprits of that, Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. And you could say, well, what has Quinn Ewers done to like
get hurt?
Talked about, like, yeah, he got hurt again for the third straight season, and his body type is just not my type of quarterback. Like, he is extremely rail thin. Like, you can look at CJ Stroud and you could say he was kind of thin. You could look at Shadeur Sanders and say he's thin. You could look at Carson Beck and say he's thin. Quinn Ewers is thinner than all of them. Like,
people think Shadeur's thin.
And he's not thick.
Yeah, but he's at least like he's built in a way where you're like he's probably gonna get bigger when he gets older.
But he's taken hits and he hasn't gotten.
Yeah, he's fine.
So,
yeah.
And if you just look what he's doing in that offense, it's not a lot. And anytime he is throwing the ball down the field, it's typically to another defender or into coverage or not completed. Again, the last game against Oklahoma this past weekend, 17 of his 20 completions were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. So, like, he's legitimately doing the bare minimum in that offense, and he's missing chunks down the field.
You talking about 17 of 20?
17 of 20. Or within 4 yards of the line of scrimmage.
New age Bo Nix.
Hey.
He is very Bo Nix-ish to me. Very. I've said that a lot.
And he's not as good of an
very
athlete.
Hey,
not
New age Bo Nix is a crazy smack on Bo Nix.
A player one draft class ahead of him.
Because he's calling him ancient. He's not even thinking about Oregon Bo Nix. He's all the way back in like Auburn.
Oh, dude, Auburn Bo Nix was an absolute tragedy to watch.
My gosh.
Man, that was bad stuff.
Oh man. But yeah, also fun fact, the Browns currently have a quarterback who throws 65% of their passes between under 10 or behind the line of scrimmage right now.
You gotta stop falling for the trap, man. You gotta stop falling for the trap. It's so easy. It's so easy.
I think DTR was at 64. Okay, yeah. Fun stuff there. But let's continue. If I can find my mouse pointer. And here we go.
Travis Hunter would be historic if you look at him as a corner. We've never had a corner go number one in the draft, but we have had wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
Keyshawn and Irving Fryer and that. So we have had. How do you look at Travis Hunter? Is he a wide receiver? Is he a corner? Yeah. To the point about
he's a corner.
Kelvin Banks Jr. We have.
Do you think there's a chance somebody might try to play them both?
He will command snaps offensively, but not full time both ways.
No.
You don't think somebody's gonna be like, he could be like our 2 and our like boundary corner on the other side to our number one guy?
I think he can play 10 to 15 offensive snaps a game, but that's it. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
already
I think
having
that's
issues.
crazy.
He's already having issues staying healthy right now.
Playing
He got
100
injured
snaps.
last year. He got banged up in this last game. He's coming back, but when you're playing like 150 snaps a game, it's going to take
a lot to
toll.
expose
It's going
yourself
to take
to.
a toll on your body, especially because his body is not filled out the way it needs to be or is going to be once he gets to the NFL level. Once he gets to an NFL training staff, and a training staff at the NFL level is going to help him out too, because I'm sure Colorado doesn't have the same sort of medicinal value that the NFL will. So,
and even like his 1 year at Jackson, he missed a lot of games, or like he was always getting pulled out of games in and out, from what I can remember from following that as well.
Orlando Pace. We have had Jake Long. We have had Eric Fisher.
Yeah.
We have had offensive tackles go number one in the draft. We
This
have
kid's
never
special.
had
Fisher,
a corner.
man.
So
Now,
Fisher.
you want to bet an Orange Crush?
That was a surprise number 1 overall pick, Cole, because I
Yeah.
think what was it? Luke Jokel supposed to go number 1
Jokel,
overall that year?
yeah.
Luke Jokel never turned into anything, and like that was the guy people were like, he's a surefire bet at left tackle that year. I think coming out of Texas A&M.
And a crab cake. You and I will make an Orange Crush bet that I bet I will take this, and we'll just find out at the end of April that Travis Hunter won't even be the highest drafted player on his own team.
Rocking. Look at this.
My
shit.
prediction is that Shadeur Sanders will hear. We will say his name on draft night before they say Travis Hunter's name. You choose the Orange Crush stop of your choice on that Ocean City, Maryland tour, and I will bet you that. What do you think?
I'll throw in a lobster tail and a couple other things, Granny. I'll get you some Smith Island cake for dessert. I have all kind of good things going for you.
Wait, so when do you eat it?
With that crab cake. We'll get it all going.
Wait, does Mel live in Ocean City?
For you, Granny, if Shadeur Sanders ends up, and I love Shadeur, but everybody I think knows.
Where's Ocean City? I'm not familiar.
Ocean City, Maryland. It's.
Wait,
I know.
What did Mel just say? What did Mel just say?
He loves Shadeur, something.
I'm out.
Oh, you. Let's rewind it.
Island cake for dessert. I have all kind of good.
I think he's about to say, "I love Shadeur Sanders." Travis
crab cake. We'll get it all going. I'll have a loaded plate for you, Greeny, if Shadeur Sanders ends up. And I love Shadeur, but everybody I think knows how strongly I feel about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter right now is number 1 on my board. Shadeur's in the midway part of that first round, that 10 to 15 area. So to me, and I get what you're saying, somebody's taking that quarterback. Somebody's going to fall in love with that number QB1. That QB1 is going to go ahead of a guy who's a corner wide receiver. I get what you're saying, Greeny. If it happens, you're going to be eating some really good seafood from the Kent Island, Ocean City area.
I want in somehow. Yeah, I want in.
Field, you're in. I mean, you can join
it too.
I just feel like I just walked in on somebody's Zoom call right now. Like, this is just too personal at this point. But one thing I do want to talk about too is, with what Jalen Milroe being in the SEC, he's going to play for Alabama, which means they're probably going to have a good chance to play in the playoff. They're probably going to play in the SEC championship game against Georgia or Tech. I forget. Is it division still in the SEC, or did they just open it up to whoever's second place now? Yeah, so there's no divisions in the SEC anymore, so it means you're going to play a really quality opponent if you get there. Well, now it's going to be tough for Alabama to get there because they got the one loss here. But
they all might have one losses by the time depending on what Texas and Georgia happens, they all might have one loss.
Yeah.
Do you think the rest of the strength of schedule, like if Jalen Milroe plays well for the rest of his schedule versus Shadeur playing well with his schedule not being as tough as like an SEC one, do you think that's going to affect the evaluation of him? And do you think strength of schedule is a factor when you look at a lot of Shadeur's tape? Because 2 of it's SES. The other 2 years, one Pac-12 tape, very tough conference there, but he didn't have the best showing versus some of the tougher competition in the Pac-12. And then this year, Big 12, where possibly the best team you're going to play is like a 15th-ranked Kansas team. Kansas State team, my bad.
Maybe a little bit.
I think it's more. I think you have to look at their environments too, because I mean, when you look at that, Shadeur Sanders has the much more difficult environment to survive around him. Even though Jalen Milroe plays in the SEC, he's still playing on one of the most talented teams in the country. Whereas outside of Travis Hunter, there isn't a ton of fantastic play at Colorado, specifically in the trenches. Specifically, we've talked about it already. That offensive line is atrocious. So I do think that when I look at it, if you continue to see big steps mentally from Jalen Milroe, I think that he can make this a legitimate competition at the top of the board. But I do think right now it would take quite a bit for me to have him leapfrog Shadeur, even though, like, in my grading system, athleticism is a huge part of it as well, even at the quarterback position. I still think when you look at doing the quarterbacky things, Shadeur is head and shoulders above everybody else in this class.
What about you, Corey?
Yeah, that's kind of where I sit. Again, I just want to see, can they pass the test in front of them? Again, it's not like Jalen Milroe's doing good things against SEC competition, but like, and yeah, Jalen Milroe's tests are going to be more difficult, right? But like, we go through this every year, and outside of like Tennessee offense, like we can say like, well, who's the more pro style offense? That stuff doesn't matter. Like, can you pass the test in front of you? Like Drake May last year playing in a really basic offense, but was he passing the tests in front of him? Like that's all you can really project at the college level, because these offenses are so gimmicky these days.
Yeah.
That you can't do the pro style thing anymore. You can't. You can't do the like, well, who's got the better footwork? You can't do that. Every college quarterback has shit footwork for the most part. Like they all need rebuilds.
Some in the pros.
You can't do like some in the pros. Yeah, exactly. So like you can't. That's not really like. But can you pass from a mental aspect the test that's in front of the pressure to sack thing is is usually what I would use as well. Like, what are you trying your best to avoid some sacks here? Like, how is your pocket work? Shadeur's pocket work's been a lot better, but he doesn't have a pocket to work with most of the time. So and that's a hard thing to evaluate as well. So like, just pass the test in front of you, and we'll get there when we get there. Again, this is why I chart every throw too. I can see and I can quantify a number of like, this is how accurate a quarterback is. This is how on target a quarterback is in my class, and that plays a huge part in it. Again, I can tell when some quarterbacks have gimmicky numbers. Like Bo Nix had a pretty high number last year, but he was spamming stick and screens like crazy last year. So like, I can kind of tell what's gimmicky and what's not. Neither of those guys are running gimmicky offenses. Neither of those guys are running gimmicky offenses. So. Just pass the test in front of you, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Shadeur, because people are going to assume he's a great athlete, is going to be hit unfairly with like what some of his like athletic combine numbers versus, especially when you compared? Okay, he's just gonna say because I wouldn't.
Yeah. Because Milroe he'll get the running back wide receiver stuff, so he won't do it either. Yeah,
that's crazy. Like he can't even test because like people.
Lamar didn't. Lamar didn't. Yeah, he would have ran a 4.3.
Justin did though.
I guess the last thing, because I know I don't want you to get on like a hardcore. He's exactly like this player comp, but I've heard like the comps out there with at least Jalen Milroe. A lot of people go to kind of Jalen Hurts, and I think play style. Some of that makes sense there.
Juiced up Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. I was gonna say he's just so much more athletic than Jalen Hurts was, and he's a different kind of runner, right? Because he's not a scrambler as we mentioned before. He's a direct run, or like kind of what Lamar was early in his career. Like Lamar wasn't really a scrambler until like his third or fourth season in the league, in my opinion. But like at the beginning, it was like either he's running or he's like standing flat foot in that pocket trying to throw a dart downfield.
Yeah. And I think systematically you could have a thicker playbook with Jalen than what you can have with, they're both named Jalen. What you can have with Milroe versus what you can have with Hurts.
I think they were, and then Jalen Hurts was like what 23 when he came out of college.
Hurts was a more physical. He was a more physical runner, and he had amazing vision. And I think his vision is what made him such a good runner at the college and early in his NFL career. And then injuries kind of piled up. I think Milroe is more of that. Like, hey, you might think that you have the right angle on him. You don't. He's going to outrun you. He's going to outrun the angle. He's too explosive.
So, like, who would you comp him to? Because, like, the one I'm coming to is, like, it's like, what if Tyrod came out of college running, like, 4.3?
I mean, I think Jalen Hurts is probably...
Yeah, I think Hurts is a good comp.
Jalen Hurts.
A good comp, yeah.
What about with Shadeur?
I like the Geno.
He's Geno, man. He just is.
Like Geno's another guy. Geno is a pure pocket passer. Geno is brilliant. Geno is hella accurate and anticipatory with the football. Mm-hmm. I think it just fits really well.
I wonder why it took so long for Geno to get the kind of plays in. Right.
Jets and Giants,
Those running read options with Geno Smith, right? We talked about this with Josh Allen when they wanted to run all the regular quarterback plays with Josh Allen early in his career. And then somebody was like, we gonna run read option. Oh, that works with Josh.